Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Faith, Family, Fulfillment. I am your co-host, Chris.
And I'm Suzanne.
And man, this has just been a challenge. Obviously, it's not
our normal space.
Not our normal space at all. And we're actually recording this in Rome, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
We had this super romantic idea of how cool it would be to record a podcast.
I think that was your romantic idea. I just said, let's record a podcast. Had no expectation.
Yeah. So it turned into something completely different. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound issues, camera issues, connectivity issues.
Yep.
But you know what? It's all good.
And we left a week ago talking about doing this.
Yes. A week ago.
Yeah.
A week ago today.
Okay.
Actually. Wow. I'm going to pray us in and we'll get started.
All right.
Lord, thank you for what has been an amazing trip. And thank you for this opportunity to share how we have dealt with, through your grace and your calmness and your effect on us, the challenges that we've come across in this amazing adventure. And we just ask you, lead and guide this conversation and keep us in your will. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, yeah, it's hard to complain. Before I left, we found out on Friday that our flight from Paris to Venice had been canceled, which was kind of the beginning of the trial.
Not trial, just having to readjust.
Yeah, the readjustment. I want to get. I've been thinking about this since we talked about this afternoon, like what we're going to talk about. I want to give a shout out to Jim Sabelica because I know he's maybe he'll listen to this, but he's going through a lot right now, and he made reference to, you spend a lot of time on the practice field of how do you deal with adversity, and you don't know until you're put in the path of some adversity is put into your path of how well the practice has gone.
Right.
Now, what we've been through this week is a grain of sand on a beach compared to what he's going through.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
But those words have rung true because there has been some hiccups along the way that could have been aggravating. So we found out this trip. It's an incentive trip with a company that we do a bunch of business with, and they do it every June, some type of a trip for dealers, and every so often they come to Italy, and Italy is special to us.
Yes,
because we came here on a honeymoon.
We did
almost 27 years ago.
Yep.
So I always look forward to when they come because I love this place.
The food's not bad.
The food's incredible. But we found out on Friday we were supposed to fly from Raleigh-Durham into Paris overnight, Saturday into Sunday.
Arriving Sunday morning at like 8 a.m.
Right. And then like an hour layover that would fly us into Venice.
Right.
Well, the government's decided that they are moving the retirement age.
And the unions don't like it. So they decided to go on a little bit of a strike when our plane was supposed to land.
Right. So they literally went on strike for, I want to say like
it's 4 hours.
I don't know. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning to 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And our flight happened to be landing at 11:55.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, when you complain about first world problems, they're not real complaints. So that put us, and I'm going to do air quotes here, kind of put us in the quotation of getting hung
stuck
in Paris. That's, not really stuck.
That's tongue in cheek. Yeah. Very tongue in cheek. We were not stuck.
We had never been there before. And which gave us an opportunity to explore Paris, kind of like Amazing Race style. We just picked out like 4 or 5 places we wanted to go visit and used all kinds of transportation to get there. I could not talk her into getting on one of those little Lime scooters.
Nope.
Like I thought that would be fun.
Nope. I think that was just deadly.
I think
there are no traffic rules here.
There are no rules. But anyway, we landed at 7 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we got to the hotel, the company that we were traveling with I mean, literally, it was 2 phone calls,
Mhm.
and they
They
had
were very gracious.
arranged a shift for us in our transportation, somewhere to stay in Paris overnight, as well as a booking of the next flight that got us into Venice. But we were able to see the Eiffel Tower. My niece had recommended this amazing bookstore. We're both book geeks, called Shakespeare and Company, which has lots and lots of history. Picked up some really neat stuff there. Went to a really famous chocolate and crepe shop.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Saw the Arc de Triomphe,
We saw Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. I mean, we just kind of, I mean, amazing race.
Yeah, so we've spent probably what, 7 hours, 6 hours? How long were we out there?
About 7 hours.
Yeah.
So in 7 hours, got to see all of that.
We did a lot of walking. We did a lot of sardine can bus rides.
Yeah. Yeah, they were packed.
Yeah, the limit on the buses apparently don't apply if you're in a European country, because you just pack yourself in until you can't fit anybody else. They're like hanging out the door.
They were hanging out the door. It was nuts. But yeah, had a great day in Paris, actually.
We were exhausted.
Yeah, ridiculously exhausted.
Had 2 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Up for 36 hours.
Yeah.
It was a party.
It was. And then got up the next morning, a little hour and a half flight into Venice, picked up by our host there, got on a water taxi, literally put our bags in the room.
And did it again. In a different city.
And did an amazing race there. Seeing so many incredible sights. We saw St. Mark's Basilica, which 400 years to complete the thing, some ungodly number of years for it to
It's like 8 generations of
and
workers.
you could actually see the shift in the architecture style, the shift in the art style. Just gorgeous. But really was running from one side of Venice to the other,
Which doesn't take long.
It doesn't.
But you go down back alleys. So if you've watched any Harry Potter, I think this was probably the best description. And all of the little alleyways that intersect and maze out from a general spot. It's kind of the way Venice is.
Yeah. It's like you never know where you're going to end up, really. But again, I mean, it was like literally like off the water taxi straight onto a tour, walking. And when they call it a walking city, that was kind of something that was neat to me. I never thought about it, but there's no cars there. I mean, zero
motor noise.
Zero motor noise. Gave us a really neat perspective. Had a lot of history to the room that we were in. But what was supposed to be a 2-day trip and multiple different excursions and
Over a 2-day period got slammed into
squished into like 8 hours.
8 hours. Yeah.
And but we made all of them. The clock tour, St. Mark's, the gondola ride, which was kind of neat. They're like a highway. The little canals are like a highway. There's so much gondola traffic.
And they said it was like 127 canals. Is that right?
440 bridges and 127 canals.
And some of them are barely big enough for 2 gondolas to go side by side.
And again, shut down in Venice, got on a plane the next day, or train the next day, and took about a 4-hour ride into Rome. And joined what was to be our normal trip, because the other part was just an add-on anyway. We decided that we had never been to Venice. We'd spend a couple of days there to explore another piece of Italy, since we as a couple had so much history here, I guess. And really the reason I'm recapping all that is because one of the things that we've talked about is all the little small sayings that you hear when people are faced with any type of adversity. You know, it's control the controllables.
I say that a lot.
Worry about what you can worry about.
Right.
Because, even Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan to get hit in the mouth.
True.
So, but I've got co-workers at home that work in our company that have
That's
we've had 2 deaths.
Yeah, catastrophic events this past week
Since we've been gone. So in perspective, spending a day in Paris running around like a mad couple,
unshowered, dirty, and
Yeah.
tired.
and having Venice, like,
Mhm.
a 2-day event turned into one,
Mhm.
has really been a blessing more than anything.
Mm.
And I think it's just about perspective. And that's why, I talked about Jim at the beginning of this. We've had this really neat conversation about a week ago, and it was really about how seeing what he's going through right now and knowing that he's just calm in it. And he's
Mhm.
excited about being calm in it because it gives him a perspective of, hey, the work I've done on the practice field
Mhm.
is paying off. And I think about us over the last week. Like we've had, until we started setting up this Dad Burn podcast equipment, where I was ready.
Well, it's not even podcast equipment. It's an
Yes.
iPad, my phone, and some remote microphones.
Hey, that's what it does. Right. But I was ready to invite you outside and leave you there.
Let's go through some
Right.
punches and get it over
And,
system.
and I said, hey, anger comes from entitlement. We're not entitled for any of this to work.
No.
We are in an amazing city, experiencing some amazing things. I mean, like if you think about what we've been able to experience this trip, even more so than the last trips, the one-offs, the firsts of everything. So the company that we travel with has, I don't know who they got pictures of,
Okay, let's not go there.
but I mean the things that they're allowed to do. There's a deep business connection here, and we get to see some amazing things and participate in the first of a lot, like the first time this, the first time that,
And that
last night-
comes, but that comes from the relationship between the company that we're here with and the company that they partner here
Right.
with. They've been working with them for probably close to 30 years.
I think you said 30 years.
And over time, those people connect with relationships locally. And because they have such a good relationship and they're bringing several hundred people, it just allows for a completely different experience. Like we've been to Disney with this particular company, and I almost hated to take our kids to that because there's no way you and I can put on that kind of show
Ever.
for them.
We can't
And yeah, so it's been an amazing time here. It would have been amazing without all the first, but that just kind of adds to it. But I think it just calls into, like you said, perspective. When you look at it's a blessing to be here.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think there's another word that you can use for that.
Right.
Because there are people, like you said, back home who are, going through things that are life changing.
Right.
And when you look at it from that perspective, so what, we didn't get the flight we wanted.
Right.
So what, we weren't able to spend 2 days where we had spent time planning, or you have really spent time planning to be there. So what, it was a day of an overnight flight, very little sleep, no shower, all those things. Okay, but those, without the right perspective, without the right attitude, without the right grounding, any one of those things
Could spin somebody out.
very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And take it where you are. Be present. Be where your feet are.
Right. In the words of Jesse Isler.
And Chad, right?
Yeah, be where your feet are. But it's, I think what I've gotten out of it, again, shout out to Jim, is the time in the practice field, spending every single day waking up looking for something to be grateful for, made me grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never got this. It sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm not. I'm just saying I know that 6 years ago, my reactions to the things that happened to us this week would have been met with a completely different Chris.
I don't disagree.
And I am eternally grateful for the breath in my lungs when I wake up. But finding something else to focus on, one thing every single day, we've seen a couple of people on this trip that are participants on the trip.
Mhm.
And I've been able to witness them be entitled, is the best word I could say.
Very entitled. I think you got need to put that
Yeah.
in front of it.
And Suzanne and I have been like, how can you be that upset about being on this type of trip, experiencing these type of sights, these type of events, this type of food, and have that attitude?
Right.
I told you today, I want to walk up to that guy and go, why are you so angry? I mean,
Do you not want to be here?
Did somebody force you? Did somebody put a gun in your head to get you on a plane? It didn't make sense to me. So I guess if there's a takeaway to be taken away, it's if you practice some gratitude every single day, it begins to filter into the times in your life that you need something to be grateful for.
Oh, absolutely. Practicing that,
Right.
getting
I
those
mean,
reps in
yeah.
every single day when things don't go like you have created them in your mind, because we're very good at doing that, and when it falls short of what we've created in our mind, you can either be, like you said, grateful that you had the experience that you had, or you can feel like you've been cheated somehow because it didn't turn out exactly like you wanted it to. There are plenty of things I can think of that didn't turn out exactly how they were in my head, but turned out way better.
Right.
So thank goodness they didn't turn out, the way that in my mind they were supposed to work, or however you want to phrase that.
So I mean, that's my takeaway is, hey, if there's something to be taken away from planes, trains,
Buses and
and
gondolas.
gondolas, right? Like the old Jim Candy movie, John Candy movie. Yeah. Is, hey, just be grateful you got there.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, that was the whole thing of him and Steve Martin on that trip. It was just how did they get there? But in the end, they got there.
Mhm.
And like, we've gotten here. And I'm grateful for every moment that we've had.
And I will say, this is our third time in Rome.
Right.
Spaced out pretty good.
Way good.
And we've seen things intentionally, seen things this time that we've never seen before.
For sure. I mean, yeah, like you said, intentionally, on purpose, like looking for, and I got it from our pastor. Pastor Core, when he came and spoke, and he said that he had come to Rome. I don't know if he said it was recently, but it was the last time he was here, and he went and looked at the Maritime prison where Paul was at the very last part of his life. And when you get there and you see it, it's like Reggie said, man, it almost gives you chills to think about what took place there. And
it gives you a good perspective too on what we have Americanized prisons to be, and what was actually there, because it was basically a hole carved out in the rock that you could not have stood up in.
Right. And I'll say, if you ever get here, go there.
Yes. It'll cost you $10 for a ticket. It's worth $10.
It's worth every penny. But we kind of intentionally seen some things that have significance for us in our faith. And I mean, we're not Catholic, but like the knowing how things go down here, and even hearing the history of the church and the persecution of Christians, and when it stopped, and when they first built a church, and like all of that, learning to hear all of that. And obviously, I probably could have heard it maybe I would have heard it in public school history 30 years ago, but probably not. But I paid attention to our tour guide and learned a lot, even about their civil war that happened almost the same time as ours. We learned a lot about that last night. And we've just had a really good history lesson, which has made me grateful. When you see the maritime prison, I mean, I'm grateful to have seen that, but I'm grateful for the things that went down there that we have recollection of. Right. It's just, I don't know. it was neat to see some stuff on purpose that we've never ever seen before,
Mhm.
intentionally seen before, and then some stuff that we had seen before to get refreshers on,
Mhm.
like Florence.
Mhm.
It's a very cool city, and going to see David for the first time because
We've seen it all.
have we? But it's but 2011 was the last time we were here,
Mhm.
right? So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But again, lots of hiccups,
Mhm.
lots of schedule changes,
Yes. Lots of very early mornings.
lots of very early mornings, and even figured out a way to get our training in for our event that we're doing in
Mhm.
August.
Because you know Rome is built on 7 hills.
Yeah, I think we've seen at least 3 of them, 4 of
I would
them,
say closer to 4.
some of them multiple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good. But we called it what we did because if
We just don't realize how fortunate. Maybe fortunate is not even the right word. I don't know. But just you don't really understand that until you're faced with stupid stuff that if you get upset about, I really think you honestly need to kind of check your perspective.
yeah,
You know?
again, that's why I want to ask God, dude, why are you mad?
Yeah.
Why are you mad? It can't be that bad.
No.
So
And he was even wearing different clothes, so it's not like his
yeah,
luggage got
he
lost.
definitely has a luggage. We've seen him in 4 different outfits.
Yeah.
So and he's mad every time. But yeah, so again, the time off the field for when you're going to get punched in the face or kicked in the shins or whatever you want to call it. Are you practicing some gratitude every day for the things that um, you take for granted? Because if you'll start to show gratitude for those things, then when you get kicked in the face, it doesn't feel so bad because you recognize just how much worse it could be.
True.
Because again, I think about what's going on home with 2 dear people to me and to the organization, and it's not been easy for them. You good?
I think we've said it all. It is.
Yeah.
It's almost 10:30
It
at
is.
night.
It's late. It's been a
It's been
long
a day.
day. Yeah, we've been up since like 5:30. So
Yeah.
pray us out.
Absolutely. Father God, thank you for giving us the opportunity to spend time here where we are and to just really be present, be where our feet are, and count our blessings every single day. We hope that this is kind of comedic relief in a way because we've had fun and we've had fun the last 20 minutes or so talking about it. But beyond that, just that there's no reason to not find something every day to be intentional with and grateful for. And we really need to be better at doing that every day. Keep us just mindful of all the things that we have to be thankful for. Amen.